The 13th house. The knock at 3 a.m. House number 13 on Harvey D Street had stood silently for over 10 years, shrouded in the dust of time and surrounded by a rusted iron fence. No one in the neighborhood dared come near it, not even during the day. Whenever children played soccer and accidentally kicked the ball past the iron gate, they'd leave it behind, too scared to retrieve it. Adults avoided mentioning the house entirely, as if the very name House Number 13 was something poisonous taboo. The day Min moved in, it was raining steadily. A cold, unseasonal downpour soaked the street, as if warning him of something he couldn't yet understand. A freelance journalist, Min didn't believe in ghosts or ridiculous rumors. He rented the house for a dirt-cheap price, a bargain for a lone wanderer with a taste for adventure like him. Min had a particular interest in strange stories, especially those deemed mystical. He had written articles about allegedly haunted places, mysterious disappearances in the northern mountains, and even secret cults beneath Hanoi. But this time, he wanted to truly live in a cursed place, to experience it firsthand, and write a book that would keep readers up for many sleepless nights. The old house, built in French colonial style, had 2 floors and an attic that was tightly locked. The landlord had simply said over the phone, "Just stay on the lower floors. Don't go to the 3rd floor, and don't try to open the attic. I no longer have the key." His voice was raspy, slightly irritated, as if hiding something. Min shrugged it off. Exactly what I need, he thought, smirking. If something strange really happened, it would be perfect for his book. If not, at least he'd have a quiet space to write. But on the very first night, Min felt something was off. The house was unusually cold, even though it was a sweltering June outside. The fireplace didn't work, yet a chill seemed to rise from beneath the floor. Floorboards creaked even when he wasn't moving. The 2nd floor window, though shut tight, vibrated softly as if someone were tapping on it from outside. At 3 a.m., as Min was drifting in and out of sleep, a knocking sound echoed through the house. Knock, knock, knock. Soft, steady, coming from somewhere upstairs. Min opened his eyes, sat up, heart pounding. He reassured himself. Probably a rat, or the wind, but his heart wouldn't slow down. The house was completely silent aside from the knocking. Not a sound. No cars, no dogs barking, not even the rain from earlier. Everything was eerily still. He checked the clock. 3 a.m. The knocking stopped. Min jumped up, grabbed his flashlight, and headed for the stairs. In its dim beam, the moldy walls looked like the skin of a sick person. Each step on the wooden staircase creaked dryly beneath his feet. When he reached the 2nd floor, the knocking resumed, this time from behind the attic door. Knock, knock, knock. 3 knocks, then silence. He placed his hand on the doorknob, ice cold. He tried turning it several times, but the lock wouldn't budge. Min leaned in, pressing his ear to the door. Nothing. Then suddenly, from behind the door, a whisper slipped through low and thin like wind, hissing, "Get out!" Min stumbled back, dropping the flashlight. Its beam flickered across the floor. As he bent down to pick it up, he noticed something under the door, a small piece of paper being pushed out from the other side. He unfolded it. The writing was jagged, inked in what looked like blood-red ink. 3 o'clock. Do not answer the knock. Do not look into the mirror. Min stood frozen, the trembling note in his hand. His mind swirled between fear and skepticism. He tried to steady himself with logic, but deep down he couldn't shake the growing sense of unease, like something rising from the black depths of water. Someone must be playing a prank, or the landlord made this up to scare me, he told himself, though he knew well that he was the only one living there. The neighboring houses were at least 20 meters away, and no one in this neighborhood dared come near number 13. Who could have gotten into the attic to leave this note? And if someone really was there, how were they behind a locked door? Min took the note back to his room. He sat at his desk and opened his laptop, intending to write down what had just happened. But his thoughts kept drifting, that strange message repeating in his head. 3 o'clock. Do not answer the knock. Do not look into the mirror. He suddenly remembered, in the 1st floor bathroom, there was a large oval mirror with a dark wooden frame, covered in a thin layer of dust. Since moving in, he hadn't looked into it properly. And now, Every time he closed his eyes, he felt like someone in that mirror was watching him. The second night, Min tried to stay up late, his fingers typing non-stop, but all he could think about was 3 a.m. The clock struck 1:30. Wind began howling outside the window, rising in gusts that sounded like distant weeping. Soon after, the house lights flickered. He got up to check the circuit breaker. Everything was working normally. When he returned to the room, his reflection in the bathroom mirror suddenly appeared, but something was wrong. Min froze. The reflection didn't match his posture. He was standing upright, but the figure in the mirror had its head bowed, hair falling over half its face, arms hanging limply like a hanged corpse. He whipped around. No one behind him. He looked back at the mirror. The reflection was now normal again, just his own pale, sweat-drenched face. He slammed the bathroom door shut and rushed back to his room. That night, he didn't dare sleep. He lay curled up in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the door. 3 a.m. Knock, knock, knock. The knocking returned, still from the attic. Knock, knock, knock. Min held his breath. He remembered the message on the paper. Do not answer the knock. Knock, knock, knock. He raised his hands to cover his ears. Sweat soaked through his shirt. Then, the knocking stopped right as the clock struck 3:10. A minute later, the bathroom mirror shattered. The sound of glass breaking pierced the night like a scream. Min dashed out and turned on the light. Shards of mirror lay scattered across the floor, catching the flickering light like 1,000 spying eyes. Among the debris was a larger shard, and in it, a figure stood behind him. He spun around. No one. But in that shard, the reflection of that figure remained still, head lowered, long hair, dressed in a soaking white gown. Min backed away, stepping on the glass. A shard pierced his foot, drawing blood. He didn't dare pick up the mirror piece. He simply closed the door and locked himself inside his room until morning. The next morning, Min tried to contact the landlord. No answer. He checked the rental contract, called the backup number still, no response. Finally, he decided to search online for information about the house. He typed, house number 13 HUED plus accident plus haunted. Few results came up, mostly rumors and urban legends. But one old article from 1998 sent a chill down his spine. The body of a young woman was found in the attic of house number 13 after more than 2 months missing. The victim, Nguyen Tao V, a third-year architecture student, disappeared while working on a project to redesign the abandoned house. Police found no signs of forced entry. The autopsy report confirmed she had died from being tied up and starved. Attached to the article was a blurry photo. A girl with long hair, large eyes, gently smiling in a school uniform. Her name was Vi. Min felt a cold shiver down his spine. He retrieved the note and compared the handwriting to that in the article's photo. Looked very similar. Vi had died in this house, in the attic. Someone or something had locked the door and left her to die slowly in darkness. And now, it seemed, she had never left. Min stood at the gate of the house. It was even more desolate than he had imagined. The house stood like a skeleton in the middle of a dry, overgrown yard. The wooden shutters banged softly in the wind. The roof was missing tiles. And right at the top, the attic window, covered in grime, stood open. The front door creaked as he pushed it open. Dust hung heavy in the air. Cobwebs blanketed the furniture. The scent of mold mixed with something else, something like rotten flesh. The house had no electricity. Min switched on his flashlight, its beam sweeping across the walls, the floor, the photos still hanging in eerie stillness. Black and white portraits stared down at him, some scratched, some blurred. Their eyes seemed to follow him as he moved deeper into the house. He stepped over the threshold into the living room. The air was heavier here. A coldness clung to his skin. Suddenly, the flashlight flickered. And then he heard it. A whisper. Too faint to catch clearly, but definitely human, coming from above. The attic. Min steadied his breath and followed the creaking staircase to the second floor. The corridor stretched long, lined with closed doors. He passed a mirror on the wall cracked in the middle, but still reflecting his image. Except, something was off. In the mirror, Min wasn't holding a flashlight. He blinked. Looked down, yes. It was still in his hand. He looked back at the mirror. His reflection smiled. But he hadn't. The whisper came again, louder, urgent, like someone was calling for help. He tore his eyes away from the mirror and moved toward the attic stairs. At the foot of the steps lay an old, dusty diary. Its leather cover was cracked, pages yellowed. He flipped it open. The first entry: Day 1. They brought me here to record the house. But at night, there's knocking. Always from the attic. Next page. Day 3. The attic door doesn't open, but I hear her, crying, sometimes laughing. Next. Day 5. The mirror in the hallway, she's in there. Watching. She mimics me. Next. Day 7. I can't leave. The front door leads back into the hallway. I walked in circles for hours. Final entry. If someone finds this, please, don't go up. Min's hand shook. The whisper returned. Louder. Now clearly a voice. Min. He dropped the diary and turned toward the attic door. It was open just a crack, though he was certain it had been shut moments ago. From the darkness above, 2 small eyes peeked out. White, glowing, unblinking, he stumbled back. The attic door creaked open wider on its own. And from the black void, a figure slowly crawled out, arms first, then shoulders, then the head, long hair covering its face, limbs twisted at unnatural angles. It began descending, not walking, but dragging itself down the wall like a spider. Min couldn't scream. He ran. Down the stairs, out the door, into the overgrown yard. He didn't look back until he was outside the gate. The house stood still, silent. But, in the attic window, she watched him and smiled. The attic door creaked open, revealing a dark slit like the mouth of a cave. Cold air rushed out, carrying with it the scent of dampness and something else. That coppery, rotten stench, like flesh forgotten underground for years. Min stood still for a moment, then slowly stepped across the threshold. The attic was pitch black. His flashlight's beam was faint, as if something in the air was swallowing the light. Every step Min took echoed eerily, like he was walking into another world. The ceiling was low, beams rotten and creaking, cobwebs hanging thick. But the strangest thing, the air was still. No breeze, no dust, just a sense that time had frozen here. In the corner, he saw a small wooden chair. Dangling from the ceiling above it was a tattered rope. Right beneath the rope, on the worn wooden floor, was a human-shaped dent. He stepped closer. The wood was damp, as if water had seeped from somewhere. Min bent down and shone his flashlight. It wasn't water. It was blood. Dried, dark, sticky blood that had seeped deep into the floorboards. But stranger still, no one had ever tried to clean it. As if everyone who ever entered this place never made it out to do so. The flashlight flickered, then died. Darkness. Min fumbled to turn it back on. Once, twice, the third time, it lit again, and when the beam returned, she was standing there. Right in front of him, not an arm's length away, her hair draped over her face, white dress torn and filthy, her bare feet soaked in blood, her eyes shallow, like 2 bottomless pits. Her mouth moved, but made no sound. Yet Min heard it clearly in his head. Take my place. Then she lunged. Min screamed, stumbling backward, slamming into the rotting wall. A freezing hand clutched his neck. The air was sucked from the room. He thrashed, flashlight clattering to the floor, casting a broken light that caught her eyes now bloodshot and white as bone glaring into his very soul. Take my place. She whispered, her voice like shattered glass grinding against bone. Min felt hundreds of hands pulling him downward, not into the floor, but through an invisible door below. Darkness swallowed everything, a bottomless chasm opening right beneath the attic. He couldn't breathe. In that death-brushed moment, Min's fingers grasped something in his pocket, a talisman, given by a monk during a research trip to Yen 2. He didn't know why he kept itinely that his hand clung to it like the last thread tying him to the world of the living. The talisman burst into flame. The fire was colorless but blinding. The girl shrieked, a sound that tore into his eardrums, forcing him to cover his ears. The charm turned to a shand in that instant, The darkness recoiled like a tide. Min collapsed to the floor, gasping. When he opened his eyes, the attic was empty again. No girl, no blood. The room was bare. The chair was gone. So was the dent in the floor. Only one thing remained, a worn leather journal lying in the center of the room. He picked it up with shaking hands. The cover was cracked, but inside, the pages were perfectly preserved. The handwriting was neat and feminine. It was Vi's diary. First day. This house is strange. I heard knocking while taking measurements. Someone's in the attic. But it's locked? Third day. I can't sleep. They whisper my name. I call out, but no one replies. Only the mirror it shows me, but not really me. Seventh day. I'm trapped. The door won't open. No signal. No one's come looking. 10th day. I'm starving. Thirsty. Crying. No one hears. 13th day. I hear footsteps. Someone's coming upstairs. I try to call, but my throat is dry. I write with blood, maybe they'll see. Last day. They didn't open the door. They just watched. I'm no longer myself. Min flipped to the last page. Bloodstains smudged the ink, but the final line was still legible. Whoever reads this diary has been marked. They will knock. If you answer, you take my place. If not, they'll take you another way. Min's hands trembled. He dropped the diary and ran from the room like something was chasing him. Down the stairs, out the door. He didn't lock it, didn't pack. Only took with him the breathless terror clawing at his chest. He left that place the same night. But the story wasn't over. After moving to a new apartment 20 kilometers outside the city, Min began writing about what he experienced. His first book, titled The One Who Knocks, quickly became a hit among horror lovers. But then, one night, while editing the final chapter, he received an anonymous email. Knock, knock, knock. That was it. And that night, exactly 3 a.m., as Min typed his last sentence, knock, 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 the knocking came. From within the mirror, the knocking sound echoed. Knock, knock, knock. From within the mirror, Amazon. Min froze. The laptop screen remained illuminated, the cursor blinking at the end of the sentence. I have escaped, or so I thought. He slowly turned his gaze toward the mirror hanging on the opposite wall. A simple decorative piece he had purchased from an unnamed antique shop during a brief trip to Dalat. The mirror wasn't large, just enough to reflect a face. But now, it was pitch black, like a bottomless pool. He stood up, cautiously approaching. Each step echoed in the silent room. And then, in the mirror, his reflection was absent. Instead, it showed the old attic room. Cold, dark, silent. At the center sat the girl Vi curled up in a corner, arms hugging her knees, head bowed. But she no longer appeared tattered as before. No, now she looked very much like him. Wikipedia. She slowly raised her head. Her face transformed. No longer Vi. It was Min. Wikipedia. The Min in the mirror opened his mouth, speaking in his own voice. You thought you left that place, but it wasn't just a house. It was a gateway. Then behind the mirrored Min, shadows emerged. 1, then 2, then 3, then dozens, faceless, mouthless. Just dark, indistinct forms, like smoke coalescing into flesh. They closed in on the mirrored Min. Ling.app.com. He didn't resist. Wikipedia. He stood still, silently watching. In reality, Min trembled. He backed away, collapsing onto the bed, as if his spine had vanished. He told himself, don't look, don't listen, don't respond. He repeated this mantra in his mind, like a protective spell. But then, the lights went out. The laptop screen flickered once, then turned off. The entire apartment plunged into darkness. And the knocking resumed this time not from the mirror. Knock, knock, knock. From the room's door. Min held his breath. He knew, if he responded, if he approached and opened it, he would take her place, or worse, become one of those faceless entities. He bit his lip. Blood seeped out, stinging, yet it was the only sign he was still alive, still real. The knocking ceased. Silence. But then, the mirror illuminated again. This time, it showed a young girl, short hair, wearing a school uniform. Her small face was tear-streaked. She pressed her hand against the mirror, looking at Min, her mouth forming words. "Help me." And Min understood. It wasn't just V. There were many like her, trapped in that space be it called a house, an attic, or by any other name it was a gateway where reality was distorted. Those who had heard the knocking looked into the mirror or listened instead of fleeing. TikTok. 加4. Rakuten Viki. 加4. TikTok. 加4. Min stood up. For the first time, he didn't run. The next morning, the police received a report from a neighbor about an apartment locked for days with no activity. Upon breaking in, they found the room empty. No one inside. No body. No signs of struggle. Only a small mirror hanging on the wall still gleaming. Wikipedia. And on the still open laptop screen was the final sentence. If you read this story, remember, not every knock comes from the living.